Let's do this. Finally. In recording this, I'm somewhat making a time capsule because this will be uploaded many months after I record it. But at that time, my YouTube channel will be known for Let's Plays of Bionicle games. And I will say that this is the first Let's Play that I've ever made that's not a Bionicle game, with one exception that we'll just forget about. Or not, because I might still upload that, but whatever. So this game is not on my screen. Right now I'm recording just dark blankness. But I will reveal it later. And the reason why I'm doing it is because of its behavior on startup. The game's called Never7, The End of Infinity. And what's particularly special about it is because it was written by a Japanese mystery game writer named Kotaro Uchikoshi. And because I'm not familiar with how to pronounce the kanji, I might have butchered that name. Forgive me, I don't know how to speak Japanese. But he's known for writing a visual novel for the Nintendo DS called 9 Hours, 9 Persons, 9 Doors, or 999 for short, which some people on the internet have claimed, yes, I'm being vague, the proverbial they of the internets has claimed is the greatest visual novel of all time. And there's obviously a lot of competition for that title, and you could argue it down very easily. But at least there is some claim of that. And of course, he continued to write games in the same series as 999, and he would go back and name it Zero Escape. Now, and then he would go on to write AR, the Somnium Files, and so on. Infinity is a group of companion games that he wrote before he wrote 999. The first one was released in March of 2000. So this actually turns out to be the oldest game I've played on this channel as well. And I guess it was ported to console and Windows. You could, as far as I could tell, you could buy the game up until as late as 2012. I don't have any hard data on that, so somebody in the comments might correct me. But in 2021, when I'm recording this, you can't buy it anymore. It's not on Steam or anything. So the way you'd get a hold of it is the teams who worked on fan localizations of it, because it was only written in Japanese, do have the original files, and you can snag them off the internet. You might want to be careful and make sure you do it on a non-administrative account and use maybe a burner computer. I didn't get any malware, but you got to make sure you can trust the sources of where you download things. And I presume I haven't researched like the copyright status of this, but you can't buy it anymore. So I'd like to have been able to buy this. I'm thinking that you probably are able to buy the second and third installments of the series still, but there's no way to buy this one anymore. Now, also, sometime after it stopped becoming available, or maybe before then, I don't know, it was ported by a group of fans to the Love 2D engine. And although it was only ported to Windows by the developer, because you can run Love 2D on Mac and Ubuntu, then this game could come to Ubuntu in theory. So I got a hold of the original files from old games, and the original files are only in Japanese, and I don't speak Japanese, so I wouldn't be able to understand any of it. But there's fans who've come up with a English patch for it. But the English patch from old games is broken. Now, one of the people who worked on this did upload to some random forum, I forget, his old executable for the English patch. However, or her, I actually don't know, it's just a screen name. However, although that patch works, at least for the CD files, in getting the visuals in English, it mutes all the sound. I don't know if that was intentional, but there'd be no sound. Now, this is a visual novel, so the sound doesn't really matter that much, so that's not a game breaking problem. But I'd rather that not be the case. So I'm using the Love to deport. If there might be some disadvantage in doing that, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not very familiar with the game or the meta in that respect. So I might be missing out on on something somewhere because I'm using the Love port as opposed to the original files. But that's what I'm using. So what do I know about this? So I did see about an hour's worth. So this game has an internal story timeline or canon timeline. I've seen about the first day's worth of the story on YouTube. Before I decided I wanted to play this myself. I don't know how long the story is, so I don't know what percentage of the whole game that is. It seems like it would probably be a very small portion, but if it was half the game, that would be embarrassing. So I know how it starts at least, but I don't know. I know pretty much zero. Not pretty much. I know exactly zero of what happens after the first day. I've read no synopsis or seen no footage from after that point. I do have some meta knowledge about the game. That is, Kid, which I'm now going to drop the name of the developer, told Uchikoshi that, and they thought in order for the game to sell, they had to focus on cute girls. And so Uchikoshi, to do his job, wrote a game that was very similar in feel to a dating sim. Now, when I started making these YouTube videos, I didn't plan on making Let's Plays of dating sims at all. Um, I wanted to do either high intensity or difficult games, or suspense mystery games, or both, right? I wasn't into that. But I play this one so I can play the later games, which are much less like dating sims and more like what do you call it, suspense mystery sci-fi games. And so, although these games, I don't, again, I kind of kept myself from knowing some of these things. I don't think they are a series. I don't think they occur in the same universe with continuing characters. They're just games of the similar mechanics and genre to each other. So it's not actually like a series. It's just like, well, maybe Persona's like that, where they don't link, but they're like similar, same mechanics over and over again. It's like that. They don't actually link, but they're games of the same mechanics. I'll like to play the first one before I play the second one, right? So I'm here playing this dating sim like game as a stepping stone, and just gonna have to work my way through it. Um, so that's all I know. Because this is a mystery game, I have to go through this speech, and it sucks, but I have to waste time on this. Um, I personally am not someone who cares about spoilers in media at all. In fact, I will read the plot synopsis of a piece of media from start to finish in as much detail as I is provided to tell if that media is worth seeing. Like seems like a lame example, but I'll read the plot synopsis of a Star Wars movie before I go see it. Right? I don't hold a lot of value to knowing the plot of the movie for the first time while watching it for the first time. I'm gonna hear about it the first time. So I'm gonna be surprised by twists at some point. I could be surprised by them just reading the plot on Wikipedia. I don't have to be surprised in the theater. Um, so I don't care about spoilers at all in my own personal consuming of stories. That being said, I'm recording a Let's Play for YouTube of a mystery game. I know I said it was like a dating sim earlier, but there is some mystery components to it. And part of the fun of this, and part of what I want this to look like, is that I try to guess the solutions to the mysteries before the game reveals them. That's just what makes it fun. And I very much dislike Let's Players who don't say what they're thinking, say what their quote unquote theories are while playing because they think that that will spoil it for the person watching. Like, the person watching, if that's the case, they should just play the game for themselves. I'm not a fan of kowtowing to soft pirating, even though this game is no longer on sale, so you're not really soft pirating anything. Um, but I don't want to be like that. I want to, as soon as I think of something, I want to say it. And if I already know the answer, I can't guess the answer because I already know the answer. So then Let's Play becomes less lamer. It's just like, yeah, I know the answer to this because someone told me, and or I read it. It's like now I have to decide whether I wanted to say it or not. I'm like, I know earlier I said I don't really care about kowtowing to soft pirating, but it kind of is it kind of don't want to say if you already know, right? I'd be saying I already know the answer to this, so I'm not going to say what I'm thinking about it. Right? It just takes out that big element. So it's important when I play mystery games for the internet that I don't know anything going into it, unlike my own personal consuming. So I'm recording this long before I've received this entire game, long before I actually upload it. So if anybody makes a comment about the future of the plot in this, I'm not going to see it until after I've played through the whole thing, which has the disadvantage of hearing feedback from the comments. But just to let you know, I post the first part. If you give me feedback, it's not going to make it into the second part. It's not going to make it until the next game. And if you put spoilers in the comments for the first part, it's not going to affect the first part. You could theoretically spoil the first game. You could theoretically spoil future games for me in the comments of the first part if you really can get your jollies that way. But you won't be able to spoil the first one. If someone scrolls down into the comments and doesn't want to know what happens next and sees your comment, well, then you still caused some sort of pain to somebody. But it won't be to me, at least as far as this singular game is concerned. Okay, with all that logistics out of the way, I'm going to start the game. Okay. See how well this works. This may take a bit. There we go. And you can click new game, but this game will start without me clicking anything. That's a bug. Yeah, usually with these long extended anime openings, um, oh, wow, okay. I just had to give me an intro. Um, you can look diligently in there for hints about the plot, right? You can look at the screenshots and try to memorize them, and with more information later, um, can I skip this? Um, okay. Okay, I guess we're seeing the intro again. With these intros, you can, it's not intentional, um, like, memorize what these pictures are. Usually, them in themselves don't tell you much about them. You can't really guess things that will happen based on them. But you can combine them with knowledge you accrue throughout the game and start being able to use things you saw in the intro to guess future events in the plot earlier than you would have otherwise. Definitely looks dating semi though. Hopefully I'll click new game and I can't figure out a way to skip this thing. Whoops. Keep doing that. Yeah, so I have to watch it again. Ugh. If this is just a bug in the game, well, I'm just showcasing the bugs. Because I know that this has been known for bugs. And just to go over the rules for me, in the story writers are not going to account for in their psychological manipulations of the player. The player recording them playing the game, right? So it's a type of cheating. If I go back and review, there we go, hit the new game. If I go back and review material from previous recordings, why? But I can write down notes if I want to, because, I mean, you would ordinarily do that when you play your games, right? But I don't have anything to take notes on sitting with me right now, so I guess for this first part, I'm not going to be taking notes. I wonder what effect that's going to have. Could those be my words? Or someone else's? No, not right now. It's doubtful whether these are even words or not. Okay, this is silly. One of those... There's nothing here. We're gonna be making fun of this already. It's like, judging from Danganronpa V3, this opening dialogue is gonna have no plot relevance whatsoever. No sound, no color, no wind. It feels like I'm swaying around in a cloudy liquid. So you're in a sensory deprivation tank. Except, is the liquid cloudy in there? You would never know, right? Because it's pitch dark, that's the point. It's so cold. With every breath I take, my windpipe and lungs let out a dry sound as if they're frozen. This is so, cheesy. That heavily dangling palm is clutching onto a small fragment of light. Okay, so this bell is going to be some sort of MacGuffin. A bell? It's a small sphere. The smooth, metal surface shines as it emits a cold light. Yes, because metal is a good conductor of heat, and so when you touch a conductor, the rate in which the energy moves from your finger into whatever else that piece of metal is touching it would be the difference in temperature between those two things, multiplied by the thermal conductivity of the metal. And so, with the same temperature delta, if you have a higher conducting material, you're going to feel more heat, more energy as heat go from your body to that thing. Usually your body's hotter than everything else. Because walking into a room at body temperature is kind of uncomfortable. You're very familiar with it if you live in Arizona, but whatever. The bottom has a long, narrow hole carved into it. Yes, because the sound, it's a bell. And a small, dual crimson string is tied to the top. You know, I've always been told show, don't tell. But then showing and also telling, and spending all this time to tell despite being shown, is taking this to another level. Before long, the bell begins to quietly slip out of the palm, and then it slips out and falls. I tearfully cling to her chest as my body's trembling gradually intensifies. In my arms, I can feel her cold, wet skin. Her thin limbs are stiff. Looking at her ghastly, pale, almost transparent cheeks, I feel like she might shatter into 1,000 pieces if I touched her cheek, as if she were a doll made of glass. She has already stopped moving. She doesn't speak or smile. This is a lot of words to say she's dead, honestly. With her radiance and warmth completely gone, all that's left of her is an empty shell. A completely empty shell. Today is Saturday, April 6th, 2019. Well, it's somewhat kind of awkward when you have these stories that are supposed to take place in the future, but then you're playing the game farther in the future, or you're reading the story farther in the future than the game predicted, right? I'm doing this in 2021, 2 years after what was supposed to be the future. It's like reading 1984, but not. One day we're going to watch Star Trek. I forgot what year that's supposed to have, like 2300, and society will definitely not look like how it was depicted. I've lost her. Why? Because it's a mystery game. It's because you gotta solve, people like murder mysteries, that's why. Only that hoarse voice fills this empty void. You gonna tell me something in Japanese? No, it's going to go back to the beginning. Okay, so the beginning of everything. So I presume the girl that died is the girl on the cover. The quote-unquote main girl. Okay. As I wake up, I kick the covers off the bed with all my strength. There's so many words in this. Still half asleep, I blankly stare at the ceiling. It's like I'm reading a visual novel, and I said there's so many words in this. It's like opening a novel and being like, there's so many words in this novel. I once had an English teacher that told me, don't use the phrase, the author uses diction to convey their point, because diction just means words. You're just saying that the author uses words. Still half asleep, I blankly stare at the ceiling. The ceiling looks unfamiliar. It's slanted and made up of several polished wooden boards that are stuck together and equally spaced. I can see that in the picture. What's the point of even having a picture if... whatever. These boards were probably built with no space between them. This is only going to pay off well if that's relevant to the murder. That, we have to induce something based on how the boards don't have space between them. These boards were probably... the faint scent of the wood lingers in the air. Is that going to be relevant somehow? I don't know. It's just... Language to make you feel something. Language to make you feel like you're there where the character is. To imagine the setting. Except there's a picture of the setting. I realize I'm freezing. My body's soaked with sweat all over. Okay. I take a deep breath and slowly exhale. A warm scent of wood goes through my nose and fills my head. I thought you already said it smelled like wood. It takes me 3 more breaths until I reach the point where I can realize where I am. That's right. I'm at the camp. Um, great. And then when the intro plays again, oh no, it's just the title. Goodness gracious. Oh gee. Better figure out pretty soon how to save my game. Haven't figured that out yet. Okay, April 1st. So it ends at April 6 days long, I guess? Okay. I slowly sit up by my bedside. The sheets that I kicked off are now on the floor. Except I don't see that, so maybe there was a reason to tell me that, I don't know. I should pick them up, but I don't have the strength to do so. My whole body feels sluggish. My parched throat begs for water. It feels like I am waking up with a hangover. Okay. Maybe you are. Despite my body's protests, I raise my left arm to check the time on my watch. So this guy sleeps with his watch on. I cannot do that. I have to take my watch off before I sleep. The digital reading says... one Monday, 9:17 a.m. was display. Okay. I mean, I think... How relevant was that to the time? I mean, I have a Japanese-built watch here, and it says the time, the day of the week, and the date. I guess maybe that's something that's common for Japanese watches? Okay. I lower my arm. And take in another deep breath. It's like... I decided to go walk to the fridge to get some water, and I took a step. And I took another step. Then I took a breath. Then another step. The floor creaks under my foot with each step. I take another step, and it creaks yet again. What an awful nightmare. Huh? Oh, so that was a premonition. He saw into the future. Okay. Suddenly, I start to feel a bit worried. But why? Because you can see into the future, obviously. You had a dream that told you what would happen later on in the game. Otherwise, what would be the point of that, right? Actually, it's because I already know, because I've seen the first day of this, that this guy can see premonitions. I might be cheating a little bit there. It was just a dream. All dreams are true, okay? It's a trope. I shouldn't get shaken over some dream. This is tropey. Still deep down, I can't help but feel a little disturbed. Ooh, wow. A dream? But was it really just that? No, because it's never just that in a mystery game. Saturday, April 6th. In 5 days, huh? Unconsciously, I start counting the number of days up until Saturday on my right hand. What the hell am I doing? I must still be half asleep. Okay, so this guy definitely uses profanity. I wouldn't know that till now, but okay. I'm with someone who would argue that saying hell is not something I'm too worried about. But obviously, he's downplaying it in this line, of course. I coldly smirk, mocking myself, but just then, the door to my room is violently thrown open with enough force to break it. Standing in the doorway, I see the girl on the cover. Who is she again? All of a sudden, she says something. What is going on? She sounds like she's frantically chasing after something. Why? So obviously this patch they obviously English translated just the text. So it's gonna have the original Japanese voiceover in the background. The girl repeats herself. Obviously, I have no clue what she's talking about. So you gotta remember, I don't have anything to write anything down with, but you gotta remember that this girl runs into the main character's room all confused at the very beginning of the game. Come again? I think I sound really stupid, but it's too late to take my words back. The girl is startled by my reply and takes in a deep breath. So you mean like, she says nothing, but instead stares directly into my eyes. This is kinda awkward. It's almost like one time at the grocery store when a little girl I didn't know tightly clinged to my leg while saying, Daddy. Yeah, this situation feels the same. Okay, try giving her a comforting smile. Calmly ask her, did something happen? Now, you would think at this point it would make sense to write down. I'm going to pause my recording and get a piece of paper because I am nervous about going through choices without writing down what I chose. Now, I still don't know how to save my game. Um, let's see. I have this like text file of controls, but none of them are for save. Oh, right clicked. Okay, cool. Save. Cool. Okay. I'm going to do a pause and I'm going to get some stationery. Okay. Yeah, this situation feels the same. I guess they're trying to make her seem cute by comparing her to a little girl clutching onto someone's leg. I don't. Um, so I guess how I usually with these Japanese visual novel things, none of the choices is going to be something you actually want to choose. But I'm going to pick did something happen because that is slightly more like what I would do. Did something happen? So I guess we know what our name is now. It's Makoto. Which, as far as I know, That's extremely common Japanese name, and so it's like John. Anyway, I don't know what the most common name in the world is. You might find it might be Mohammed or variations on Ishua. So that would be Josh, Joshua, Jesus, and so on. But if you count all those as one name, it's at times like this when it's important to stay calm. When girls run into your room. Okay. I don't want the situation to get any more awkward. Just then. Was that it? Then, in other words, that was. As she speaks, her eyes wander around the room. She looks really confused. It was just a dream? So what you're saying is this girl dreamed the same dream we did. We? Who's this we? Makoto did. Are you all right? You're still half asleep, aren't you? I say this as I give her a sympathetic grin. I would not do that. Half asleep. Yeah, that might be it. Seems that way. Although she says that, it looks like she hasn't yet grasped that this is reality. What kind of dream was it? I asked her. Huh? She seems surprised, so I ask again. Your dream? Why am I going up when it's Makoto? Your dream, what was it about? Right, it was, well, I don't really remember. Remember it all that well. It's weird though, I felt like I could remember it when I woke up. She thoughtfully taps her cheek with her index finger. I know what you mean. Like when you wake up from a dream cracking up, but you can't remember what was so funny or something like that. All that would be left behind would be a vague, pleasant feeling. Right, kinda like that, except in my case, it wasn't a very happy one. It was like hopelessness. At that moment, her expression becomes dim. Hopelessness? Now that she mentions it, I also woke up this morning with a rather grim dream. But I'm glad. Suddenly, she begins to smile widely. I'm really glad it was just a dream. Huh? But didn't you say you don't remember what happened in it? No, that's not it. How do I put this? I mean that I'm glad that the dream is finally over. Even though I don't remember it, I'm sure it was the worst nightmare I ever had. Yeah, I got murdered. Anyway, looking closely at her, I realize that her entire body is soaked with sweat. She looks like a patient who just escaped from a hospital. Her face is pale too. Anyway, sorry for suddenly intruding on you. No, I know I don't mind. I myself just woke up as well. I'm a little embarrassed right now after spouting all that gibberish out of the blue. It's like I was a sleepwalker. She gives me a flustered grin as she tries to comb her messy bed hair with her right hand. In return, I smile back. Let's just say this never happened, okay? This is a secret between you and me, Makoto. After I give a slight nod in agreement, she leaves the room. Yeah, it's kind of a... Like, if you're having a bad dream, usually you don't react by suddenly running into some random boy's dorm, cabin, camp room. In fact, I don't recommend ever running into some random boy's camp room in the middle of the night. It's not a place where you want to find what you want to find. All right. This is the ellipses. Door opening sound. Wait, hold on. I almost missed it. Makoto? She definitely said that just now, like we're best friends or something. Oh, we only just met yesterday. Why are you calling me that without a kun or something? Would you? I wonder what this said in Japanese, because, like, does the original Japanese text have a or something? You would think it would be ambiguous. Meh, whatever. Maybe she's just that kind of girl. The really friendly type. Though she seemed alright. I stretch, stand up, and begin thinking. What did she say her name was again? I definitely think that it started with a U. So I presume that it would be a kanji there, that you would, when you transliterate to English, you write U. Yuriko, Yuki, Yumi, Yue, Yuka. Yuka? Yeah, that's right. It was Yuka. I remember now. She said so when she introduced herself last night. And her last name was Kawashima, wasn't it? Okay, I'm not gonna remember that. Yuka Kawashima, huh? Well then, exposition done. Muttering those words, I head out to the living room. The ceiling is quite drafty, so this is the end of good morning. 9:27 a.m. The room is rather spacious. Everything in it is new and well organized like a showroom. On the south wall is a huge glass window. It offers a fantastic view of the vast blue ocean. There's no one else here yet. Yuka probably went back to her own room. I feel like relaxing, so I approach the sofa. Suddenly, I notice someone's placed an aluminium ashtray on top of it. I suddenly turn British. But there's no I in there. Like, it's just aluminum. So why do they pronounce it? It's aluminum. Well, anyway, I'm not British, by the way. I don't know why I decided to pronounce it like that just now. Lying in the ashtray is a lone cigarette butt. There's going to be a big Chekhov's gun of some sort. Geez, what idiot put an ashtray here of all places? Like, on the couch? I pick it up and place it on top of the round table in front of me. With that, I sink into the soft sofa. Beyond the huge glass window, the morning sun shines in from the east, its reflection sparkling on the ocean. Wait, did this guy just get out of his bed and whatever he was wearing in his bed, which included his watch, he just walked out and sat in the sofa? I'll just accept it. It's quite a breathtaking scenery. Positioning myself so that I can see it better, I blankly stare out at the ocean for a while. Okay, try to put my thoughts together or just relax. Well, I would try to put my thoughts together, so that's what I'm going to pick. I'm not going to do a save here. I did that just to check and see if I knew how to do saves. Try to put my thought. I'm writing that down. I try to pull my thoughts together. I just chose that. First, the camp. Well, I say camp, but this isn't for a school. Okay, so try to pull my thoughts together is basically code for give me the exposition. But maybe it would give it anyway if I said just relax. So somehow it would manipulate that into giving me the exposition. Well, I say camp, but this isn't for a school club or anything. The seminar camp. In all my 20 long years of life, this is the first time I've ever heard of such a bizarre camp. Truthfully, I don't really understand much about my colleagues' various systems, as I skipped classes often. At the start of last month, when the final exam results and the list of those who were or weren't advanced in their next grade were posted, I quickly peeked at the board and saw roster of literature department psychology major seminar members. It was from that announcement that I learned for the first time that I was assigned to the something seminar's 5th camp group Kawashima party. Is this like the translators not knowing that word? It's lazy English translating. So basically, this is like, he's a literature, it's like he's kind of like at a university majoring in literature, but not, because this is Japan and the culture is somewhat different in ways that I'm not familiar with. Why does it have to be literature though? Is that a cliche? Yes, I am thinking that. Anyway. The seminar camp's official name is, I forgot. But anyway, what the hell does it mean by seminar? Okay. Next to that roster was a sheet of paper which said, "The seminar camp is designed to be an informal social gathering between members of each group of the something seminar enlisted. Due to the capacity of each camping lodge and other circumstances, each group will be lodging at a different day and time, so pay close attention to your own. Furthermore, if you cannot attend for a certain reason, you must submit a report. If you don't and are absent without permission, you will immediately be expelled, regardless of your reasons." Mandatory wasting of time. But he's already a literature major, so I mean, he signed up for this. From what I can remember, ours, the Kawashima party, was assigned to the lodge from Sunday, March 31st through Sunday, April 7th. The bottom of the note read, "Other details will be given by your designated group leader, that is all." Yeah, so it's like this cliche, vague murder situation sign-up thing, right? It's like, go to this place and there'll be a party or something, and then you go there and it's like, murder. Okay, of course it makes sense that the leader of the Kamashita party was Kamashima herself. Right, in other words, that half-asleep girl from earlier who barged into my room a few days later, she called me about what I'd seen on the board. Then they'll tell the other two members that we have to meet on site, no matter what. Now, oh, that's all right. You'll get the boat ticket if you go to the student affairs office. Yeah. You'll have until the night of the 31st to get there, so you should be fine. Well, then I'll see you there. Man, Yuka's Japanese voice actor has a very cold voice. So I would describe that. I ended up arriving here last night about a little past 10. I live about 200 kilometers from here, but I still managed to make it here, this island in the middle of nowhere, safely. I mean, for a college student, going 200 kilometers is not very impressive, but okay. Honestly, I feel like I was dragged so far from home for no reason. What if I sometimes go... 200 kilometers is roughly 120 miles. I have gone 120 miles before just to go shopping for something. And came back on the same day. Whatever. Soon enough, the door to the living room slowly opens. And the one who comes in is... not Luca! So this character obviously has a theme because the music changed. Huh? Oh yeah, that's right. Some kind of monster. Come to think of it, I don't think I've heard this girl's name yet. Good morning, I greet her cheerfully. I wait several seconds for a reply, only to get none in return. The girl completely ignores me and quickly disappears into the kitchen as if nothing had happened. So this character, because I know the first day of this, is a strong character archetype for which I do not know the silly meme name of. So she might not have ignored me intentionally, as it seemed to be an unconscious and natural behavior for her. Boy, has this kind of internal monologue. For instance, if she thought she heard the greeting coming from the TV, then she probably would have ignored it. Having been ignored, I become determined to clear up this good morning issue, so I stagger to my feet and head for the kitchen. In an attempt to fix the situation, I face her and try to say good morning again. This has happened to me, by the way, because I don't like the sound of my own voice, so I don't really respond to greetings very readily. So then I'll get the greeting repeated at me until I say something. Good morning. Without a word, she turns the sink faucet, filling her glass cup with water. With a tiny sound, she drinks the entire cup in one large gulp. I guess they're trying to be cute. There are times I try saying something else. Well, I would try saying something else. Or I wouldn't have tried saying anything in the first place. more so. I'm just picking the lesser of two evils here. So, did you sleep well last night? Those words sounded incredibly forced and cliched. I feel my face flush from embarrassment. I mean, not to be rude, but you don't look like you slept much. There's a. Well, I'm not going to do a makeup rant. I'm just going to click on to the next line of dialogue. No answer. Instead, the absent-minded girl, just watched the water drip from the faucet. She likes the dripping noise, like Paul Simon. Oh, maybe he liked the rushing noise. Anyway, oh, you're not feeling depressed, are you, after all? You were taken away from your precious spring break against your will. Honestly, I'm bummed about that too. Hell, I'm the protagonist and I'm very obnoxious. But you know, it can't be helped. It's too late now. So let's make the best of it, okay? I mean, if we're going to spend the week here, then it would be best to pass our time at this camp as optimistically, as productively, and as energetically as we. What?
意味ないよ。
It's meaningless. The girl says this quite
誰
suddenly.
得にもならない。
I have nothing to gain from that. Nothing to gain? These words make my mouth run dry. I'm speechless. Yeah, just they just doing this cheesy stereo character archetype here.
私には、
Because I
私には、
because
だ
I
から
am nothing. And it is for nothing you came. And it is from nothing you shall go. Okay. In 3 years, they'll make a sequel to this game, and she will tell you that you are nothing. What? Before I can ask again, she slips right by me and returns to the living room. I guess you're supposed to assume she's the murderer or something. Up until earlier, I had been sitting down on the comfy sofa, or you're supposed to get that, like, that feeling that the dating sims are supposed to give you, where they give you this very hard-shelled character, and you're supposed to want to break it. Up until earlier, I had been sitting down on the comfy sofa, but now the girl is sitting where I was in a demure manner. I actually don't know what that word means. While trying to think about what to say, it's at that point that he shows up, entering the living room while rubbing the sleep out of his eyes. Hey. He says that in such a gaudy voice that it causes me to shiver repulsively. Okay, so I read it wrong. Hey. It resembles the greeting of a dictator looking down on his people. Hey. Okay. He looks at me as I stand still in the center of the room, then turns his attention towards the silent girl.
あれひょっとしてお
Huh?
じだったかな
Oh, this is the man. Huh, I'm not interrupting something, am I? He asks the girls this as he ignores my presence. Of course, she doesn't answer him.
そんなわけ
Nah,
ないさ
nah, there's no way it's like that. While laughing, he glares at me again. His eyes are full with scorn. Does he have something against me? He lets out a loud yawn while slowly walking over to the sofa before sitting on it. He keeps about 50 centimeters between the girl and himself. 50 centimeters. That's pretty incredible. What? It's a distance that's not too far to be distant, but not too close to be considered creepy. He did it so effortlessly that it must have been like second nature to him, a process that's been imprinted and stored in his brain, such as unconsciously controlling a car or bike would be. I suppose this is what I would call a master. Oh goodness, I have to read this stuff out loud. Okay, whatever, I'm gonna read it out loud. I signed up for this. This guy is the only one whose name I'd heard before coming here. O Okuiko Ida. Well, I don't know what you would transliterate to double I's if you're trying to communicate to an English speaker how to pronounce it, because English doesn't have double I. Um, so I don't know how to pronounce that. But anyway, if you were a student at my college, you would have heard his name at least once. I bet that even if you asked someone off campus, they'd have heard of him. He's the son of the Ida Financial Group. Another one of these. All these are archetypes. In any case, the upper class Ida family lives lives that us working class people can only dream about. As Okuhiko is the family's heir, it has been arranged for him to become the head of it someday. In school, you couldn't go a day without hearing gossip about him. He always keeps millions of yen in the trunk of his beloved Ferraro, or I heard that he conducted business with a celebrity, and then most of the stories are basically 2 years ago that happened to him, but then he gave that and did that, vague, outlandish stuff like that. I know it's a Japanese visual novel thing, but I don't know how realistic it really is. And last night I first met the infamous Okuhiko in person. So, do I choose exposition by internal monologue? Or do I choose exposition that's probably going to be like them talking back and forth about what they talked about last night? I think internal monologue is going to be less cringe. Okay, selecting Sunday, March 31st. When I arrived here, it was a little past 10 at night. The exterior of the lodge was illuminated by moonlight. My imagination ran wild as I was awed by its beauty and how much bigger it was than what I thought it would be. Okay. When I heard of a college run lodge, I just assumed that it would be painfully cramped and extremely dirty, like a really cheap rundown motel. Clearly, I was wrong. There's no way the college would own such luxurious property for just this camp. It's all this big setup by some big organization. Maybe it's a vacation spot for the college's staff. That's what I was thinking as I opened the front door. The room was filled with a mysterious atmosphere that seemed uncharacteristic. A lone girl was sitting on the floor, clutching her knees. I saw another sitting on the dining table, spacing out while resting her chin in her hands. Okay, so you're supposed to assume that the one clutching her knees is the one they haven't named yet, and the one sitting on the table is Luca. A man was reclining on the sofa, swirling a wine glass in his hand. No one spoke to each other. I don't even think there was any conversation to begin with. I was completely silent. It was completely silent. No, I could occasionally hear the faint sound of the man gulping down his wine, but that was it. Before long, the girl from the round table noticed me.
お疲れ
I'm,
様
I'm glad you can make it, is what she said. From the way she said that, it seemed like she was much more tired than me. You're Makoto-kun. That is Makoto Ishihara, right? Yeah.
どうもはじめまして
Nice to meet you.
私はユウカ
I'm Yuko.
川島優香
Okay, Yuka
だけ
Kawashima.
ど気がついたら班長とかいう厄介な役職に任命されてた
I didn't think about this, but if I would have listened to the Japanese voice actor probably would have pronounced that name somewhere within the line and I would have been able to pick it out. Oh well. I really don't know why, but since I knew it, I became the leader of this group.
別に成績優
I mean, it's not like I have particularly good grades, and my behavior's not exactly the best. I guess
なんかでいい加減
they must have just randomly decided by lottery or something like that.
まあとにかく
Well, anyway, I'm pleased to meet you. No, it's this big setup. Yeah, same here. After saying this, I glanced at the other two in the room. The girl clutching her knees stared at the floor without even moving. She looked as if she were a piece of art made of plaster that had been previously placed in here. Good. The man actually held his wine glass up towards the lamplight to check out the wine's color. As he was doing this, he began to speak. Name's Okuhiku Aida. I'm guessing you've heard of me before. Oh, I could have listened to the voice actor to tell what how this name was pronounced as well, and I didn't do it, but whatever. Huh, you can't be the heir of the Aida Financial Group. I don't really like that tone of yours. Well, whatever. Yes, I am the Okuhiko Aida. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, too. I was so startled that I messed up my greeting. I couldn't help it, though. Okuhiku Aida. I couldn't believe the infamous Okuhiko was in the same group as me. Dude, I wouldn't care. Suddenly, I began to contemplate whether or not to fake an illness so I could go home. I was beginning to feel depressed. After that, we barely exchanged a single word and went to our beds. In the end, the girl clutching her knees never said a single word. Hey, Okuhiko. So this is the premeditated crime. I address him again. Yeah? I'm bored. I might as well attempt to strike a conversation. He seems interested enough. It's just what exactly are we trying to achieve in the so-called seminar camp here? Ishihara, didn't you read the board? It's an informal social gathering between each member of each group. That's what was written, right? In short, we don't have a goal. If we all get along and become friends, then it's all okay. All these games are the same. Okay. That's it? If that's the case, then don't you think that a week is too long for that? If that's the case, don't you think that is a wee bit suspicious? Don't fuss over minor details. I don't think this is so bad. As if to emphasize his point, Okuhiro continued with this. Don't you think so, Haruka-chan? Haruka? I see, so Haruka is that girl's name. Don't you think so? Okuhiko gives Haruka an attempt of a smile that's refined yet half-hearted. Just then, this smile, this smell, I hate it. She suddenly speaks. Huh? Well, he's probably referring to the cigarette. But okay. His jaw drops. I don't think he's used to being so utterly ignored. This smell. Haruka glares at the aluminum ashtray that I placed on top of the round table earlier. It's very important that it's aluminum and not glass. That may come up later as some hinge pin of some I don't know. I don't actually know this thing. I don't know anything that happens in this game past the first day, okay? I'm just saying random spitball comments. It's a cigarette. I see. You hate the smell of cigarettes, Haruka-chan. Haruka gives a slight nod. So we know that Haruka knows somebody who smokes cigarettes that she hates, I would presume. That's what I would get out of this. Or she was abused being burned with cigarettes in her past. That's what I would assume. Just throwing that out there. Don't know any of this, but now that you mentioned it, shouldn't the flames have already gone out a long time ago? Ishihara, do you really think that the smell of cigarettes is something that simply disappears just like that? A frequent smoker may not realize it, but a non-smoker can notice it instantly. You accuse me of smoking or something? You should be a little bit more careful since you don't bother others. Hey, hold it. I don't smoke. You don't have a speck of decency, do you? I'm telling you, it wasn't me. Haha, don't try to fool us. Let me ask you something. Who was the first person to enter the room this morning? Well, we don't know if it's me or Haruka, right? I'm encountered Haruka, but I don't know if it was... I don't know if it's someone who came in to talk to Haruka before we showed up. Like, there's like this other character. But anyway. I was, but when I came in, that ashtray was already there on top of the sofa. Oh, so that's it.
ま信じて
Well, I guess I can believe you. In return, I declare that from today onwards, the inside of the lodge is strictly a non-smoking area. You will abide by that, won't you? You don't believe me after all. Just as I'm about to retort, Haruka quietly stands up. Well, I mean, she would know, likely, that it wasn't him. But anyway, we watch in silent anticipation as she slowly takes the aluminum ashtray, and I skipped a dialogue by accident. Wait, there's a backlog. Okay. She slowly takes the aluminum ashtray and walks toward the kitchen, just like that. Though I can only see her face in profile, I can clearly see that she's angry. Okay. There's a cold, harsh glint in her eyes.
おはよう。
Good morning! Okay. The Yuka who enters the living room looks like a completely different person from before. Her fixed-up hair is now lightly bouncing, and she has changed out her... I did that again. Changed out her clothes into a neat pink dress. Okay. But the biggest change is her face. She looks like an excited kid about to leave for a field trip. Okay, so I have to stop recording right here, which seems like a really weird, abrupt place to do it, but I have to stop right here. So I'm going to save on recording. I don't know why there's some Let's Players who intentionally never save on recording. I don't understand that, but I'm going to save on recording so that if the game doesn't save, I'll show it's not my fault. So, we're going to right click. We're going to hit save. We're going to save this into this slot. Oh, we got to pick a face to put on the save? Okay. Wait a second. Is there an autosave going on? Oh, it's an autosave from there. Okay, so it's not... Okay, so it's not like a specific line. Okay. Oh, I'm on the common route. That's... I wonder if this is a debug menu. What if that's a cheat? I better not pay too much attention to that, because I don't want to do cheats. Okay. So that'll be it for now. Ending it here.